Oh, hamburgers. I do like hamburgers.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week we're talking about the rise of premium on-demand videos.
Premium on demand, POVD. I had to double check that acronym earlier today just to make sure it was supposed to be.
Well, I guess it's premium video on demand, but
Yeah.
you know, whatever. We all get it. When you see VOD versus PVOD. DC's Fandome is looking to be the next big Comic-Con, Mike.
Yeah.
Kind of nice. I'm excited for it. Superhero video games are on the rise.
On the rise.
And more.
And more. It
I
seems
used
weird.
rise in here twice. I need to change this around.
Well, that's funny because what I didn't realize was I think it was like two Comic-Cons ago, which is technically 3 years ago, was when Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles aired on Nickelodeon, and I remember seeing it for the first time when we were in downtown San Diego. This was the year before you came out, and we were like getting pizza at a pizza place, and the pizza place had a couple TVs up. One of the TVs was showing one of those like weird cable channels where all they do is just play viral videos on repeat, which I don't have cable and I didn't know that existed. So I learned that was a thing that night. But then if I turned around, I saw the one TV had Nickelodeon on and it was airing Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I was watching it and I was like, wow, this is like really freaking cool. Like this animation and this style is just like really frenetic and I'm really loving it. And then over the last 2 years, a lot of the animation Twitter was sharing a lot of clips from the show, because they were doing some crazy stuff that was basically on par with like very high octane anime over on like Nickelodeon with TMNT, which I thought was really, really rad. And also, of course, this is right off of the heels of like those quote unquote Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, which I'm the only one that actually liked them. So I just wanted more turtles in my life. And I was kind of sad to see that the last episode of the series aired, I think, on Friday. So it only
I didn't know it was that close to being over.
Yeah, it only went for like 2 seasons, but I think if you look at the episode order, it might only be a season and a half unless they extended the episode runs, like maybe instead of like splitting it into 2 parts, it was 1 episode, you know?
Well, there are 39 episodes, it says. So the first season was a half season, but they are 2 11-minute. Each episode is 2 11-minute segments, mostly.
Yeah, it's always hard to track this stuff when they split it into segments. But I was sad to see that it's kind of that the series is kind of over because it never came to streaming. Like not once. Like when the second season was airing, I couldn't stream the first season. It was only ever on just like normal, like boring, like cable television, and I was bummed I never got to watch it. But the only kind of like saving grace is they're still making the quote unquote feature film that's going to Netflix. So I'm kind of curious, maybe once that lands on Netflix, maybe in a year or two, if the rest of the series will land there too. So this is just this is just like a weird shout out riffing on Chris's word Rise, that if you have the ability to watch Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, go check it out, because from what I've seen, it's freaking crazy.
Well, I think I'm typing it in here to just watch because that's what we do. But I mean, I was thinking Rise of Skywalker, which I think compared to this title might be little looked down upon because of that. But it looks like you can get both the seasons on Fubo, Mike.
Fubo, oh man, I just removed the Fubo channel from my Roku stick today because I was like, I remember when I put Fubo on here for the free trial to, I don't know, probably watch the Super Bowl. I don't remember exactly what it was I was
watching.
watching.
Something real, niche for a while there.
But you know what? The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will never die in any incarnation. It's pretty much like Spider-Man cartoons. On Disney XD or whatever they're gonna be on in the future. They run for a couple seasons and then they just reboot it in a different fashion. So I wouldn't be surprised since Seth Rogen and his production company are making the next kind of TMNT feature film that's gonna be CG, I believe. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that possibly riffs into a television show, because that seems to be par for the course. A few weeks ago, we talked about Gotham being riffed off of in the Batman movie that's coming out, and I think we have another potential series we're talking about. So maybe that's just going to be what happens in the future. All movies just filter back down again until into TV shows, much like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of was. Those are like we're talking. That's segueing into like 3 topics that we're not even into in the news already.
Yeah, I mean, damn, Mike, save some news for the rest of the show, would you, for a little bit?
I'm blowing all my segues at the top of the show because I'm like 2/3 into this Red Bull right now. So the caffeine is really starting to rise. I'm on it right now. I'm like
rise of the Red Bull.
I'm like on the needle's edge. I'm on the tip of Donatello's sword right now.
Donatello actually had a staff.
Wait, no, Leonardo, right?
Leonardo had swords.
Yeah. I'm a Michelangelo stan because I've always
you
been,
are caffeinated like
I've always been a Mikey, man. Woo.
Yeah, I can tell because you are Mike. Yeah, like the name lines up. It's very, very
especially
fitting.
when you're a child. People draw that line very easily. Like, wait a minute, your name's that character's name that. All right, well there you go. Yeah. You must love this show.
And I know for a fact that Mike loves pizza. Like you love pizza as well, like a Ninja Turtle.
I love pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, who doesn't love pizza, Chris?
That's true. I had pizza last night. I some people may or may
Chris,
not know.
Chris,
what?
Just be careful when you're talking about pizza on the show, because when we get too far into it, people run out and buy their own pizza because we make them hungry.
It's true. Well, we've got snacks coming next week, Mike. I've got snacks for the show next week that people don't know about yet, but you do. This is actually something you know about ahead of time. So we've got snacks we'll review on the show next week. I've got my own Red Bull here, and I had pizza last night. Some people may not know. My aunt passed recently, and we were her services were this weekend. So I've been traveling back and forth. So I haven't had a lot of time this week to watch anything, sadly. But I did play some games this week, which we're going to talk about later. But I want to give you into the Quaran-stream because you've got what looks to be a big reveal for us. You're a pickle.
Yes, come on over to the Quaran-stream corner. The beanbags, they're still here. They didn't go anywhere. So please plop down, and we're going to kick it off with 2 movies, if you will. Chris has not catched the first one that I'm going to talk about here. It's a brand new release on HBO Max called An American Pickle, starring Seth Rogen. And if you were unaware, like I was until a couple days ago, this film was actually based off of a short story that I believe debuted in the New York Times. If it wasn't the New York Times, it's like the New Yorker, one of those New York publications. They have adapted a short story. And I have to say, I really dug the first 30 minutes of this film. The premise is really strong. I don't know how close it is to the short story that they adapted, but I was really digging this kind of old worldly character that Seth Rogen was playing. Unfortunately, it like kind of gets like bogged down by some mishigas in the middle, and I only say that because this is an extremely like Jewish movie, and it's okay if I say that because I was listening to Mark Maron's podcast where him and Seth Rogen were talking about the film, and Mark Maron, who's also Jewish, said, "Wow, this is an extremely Jewish movie." So it's also pretty funny in parts, but it does get a little bogged down in the middle of the film, and it's okay. It kind of feels like a film that went direct to streaming. Maybe they kind of lucked out that it didn't go to theaters, but after all, if you already have HBO Max or HBO, you don't have to pay for it anyway, and it's just kind of nice getting something new in the streaming bits. But Chris hasn't seen it yet, so I'm not going to reveal too much, but I think I preferred Long Shot if I had to compare it to another recent Seth Rogen film. Long Shot I think was a little bit more entertaining in my point of view, but I think Long Shot is also on HBO, so you could just watch them back to back if you wanted to.
Is that the one where he's a speechwriter?
Yes, he's a speechwriter. Charlize Theron's in the mix. It's actually pretty funny, and it's like a nice little rom-com too. If you need something to watch with your significant other.
He's Seth Rogen's coming back, man. A Preacher and The Boys and all this good stuff. So
yeah, so they're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if you will. So they're doing a lot of stuff. They're doing a lot of stuff over there. So that's An American Pickle. And then, unfortunately, we watched It Chapter 2 yesterday, which I've been meaning to watch for a while now. I saw the first It Chapter 1 streaming as well on HBO. And the first one, much like the first half of the book, as people have said, in the past is the stronger story to begin with. So this second chapter does not really live up to the entertainment value that's in chapter 1. I was pretty let down, and I watched it with my wife, who kind of watched it out of context because she's never seen it chapter 1. So I was just kind of filling her in, like, okay, that's James McAvoy. He was this character. This is Bill Hader. He was the kid from Stranger Things in the first one, but you didn't see the first one, so it doesn't matter. But there's flashbacks, so that's why you're seeing these young kids. And Bill Hader has a great performance in it, so he's fun to check out. But it's almost like identical to the first movie. Like you bring all the people back to this little town. They all go on their separate little fetch quests like they're in a video game. They have kind of like these near-death situations with Pennywise the Clown, and they group back together, go into the sewers, and then fight the clown again. It's just like, I feel like I'm watching the same movie, but now all the kids are adults. So it was a big bummer. And my wife, who self-proclaims herself as a scaredy cat and hates scary movies, was not scared like at all during this movie. She was like, this movie wasn't even scary. So I don't think I can recommend it chapter 2. Well, but if you're a completionist, you kind of gotta watch it, right?
Well, yeah, I think they've already done it. I think if you've watched the first one, I mean, I think was just a surprise hit, a surprise, take away, and then I think 2 tried too hard as from what I would walk away with that. But it's still, I remember watching the trailer for that before Toy Story 4 because they forgot to switch movies over. But yeah, that's my It Chapter 2 story.
Yeah, a hard recommend there. But the most frustrating thing this weekend was something that probably shouldn't frustrate a grown man as much as it did, is there's this nature show that just dropped on Netflix called Tiny Creatures. So, we're browsing through our Netflix categories, and we see something called Tiny Creatures. There's a cute little kangaroo mouse on the front cover, and we're just like, oh my gosh, this thing looks so cute. Let's watch this nature show where all we're going to see is like tiny little cute creatures, or maybe like weird little looking bugs. This is going to be a great little macro look at our backyards and stuff like that. So we hit play, and we start seeing, like, how like nature documentaries kind of stitch together their footage to tell a little bit of a story, right? So we're watching the story of like this little kangaroo shrew or mouse that lives in the desert. And we're just like, wow, this looks really good. Like the camera, like I'm sure this is in 4K if we had a 4K television. The shots are beautiful, crisp, precise. But then we start looking at the staging, and we're just like, none of this looks real. And then like they introduce like a snake, and they're just like, wait, are we about to watch this snake eat this cute little shrew? Like, wow, this is a really crazy shot that they were able to get in this nature show. But then like they're doing these weird cuts between the shrew and the snake, and then the snake strikes in slow motion, but we never see it hit the mouse, and it just cuts away. I'm like, what is happening here? This seems very fake. So I paused it immediately, and we're only like 2 minutes into this, and I go to look up articles, and this entire show is fabricated. It's written, it's storyboarded out, and apparently it's this really famous nature documentary maker who's worked on like Planet Earth or any of those like planet shows, and he's making it like literally in his backyard studio. I guess he has these animal wranglers like bring these animals in. He sets up these sets in his backyard studio because the opening shot, you see like this desert scene, and it's just like, well, this seems like there's a lot of just random cans, and there's like a tractor wheel. This all seems very tight and compact. None of this looks organic. And he just kind of like puts these animals in the set, and he records them. None of them are ever like in danger. It's not like he put like a shrew and a snake and had them battle out and he recorded it. Like he just kind of stitches it together. So I can appreciate the creativity of making content during a pandemic, because I guess he shot it over the summer almost by himself. But it's just the total antithesis to what a nature show is supposed to be, where you send a fool into the wilderness for like 2 years in a cabin with a camera, and then he gets like 4 seconds of like a rare animal you've never seen before, and then he packs up and goes home, and they throw that into episode 4, or like, the forest season or the forest episode. So I got very uncontrollably angry that I was like, oh, this is all staged. I'm not watching this garbage. So I don't know, if you got kids that don't know any better and they just want to see tiny little animals.
Yeah.
Watch tiny creatures, but they just force this very odd, bizarre narrative and this all fake stage stuff. So that's the Quaran-stream corner. Three things that kind of gradually made me more and more upset as I watched them. So
you sound like you didn't have a lot of win
well,
here, just kind of like an average kind of the watching week.
Chris, I mean, I'm going to have to show my hand here a little bit, but the biggest problem was at the beginning of the week, I finished something absolutely amazing. And it was all downhill after, like, I think maybe Tuesday evening.
Tuesday evening? So that's going to jump into our first thing here, because we have, we talked a little bit briefly about it last week, because you'd watched the first, I think, episode or two, and I'd already finished the series, and you didn't know that because I didn't tell you, because we don't talk about reviews beforehand. But we're going to jump into the Umbrella Academy Season 2 review.
Yeah.
We will let you know when there are spoilers here, so you can jump ahead. Or if you haven't watched it, you should stop right now, go watch Season 1 and 2 if you've not, and watch it, because this is, this is a show that's going to go down in history as probably one of Netflix's one of better shows, original shows.
It's great. I think the show is so effective that this thing can really kind of push back that 3-season limit that Netflix has self-imposed to all of these shows. So obviously, I think has it been officially confirmed for a third season?
No. So that's the other thing. Umbrella Academy has not been confirmed for a third season yet, but
they would be fools. They would be absolute fools if we did not get a third season of this show.
Exactly. And The Boys just got a third season renewal before the season 2 even dropped, and I think that's its biggest competitor at this point. Amazon's comic book adaptation that's not technically a Marvel or DC thing versus Netflix. So I agree. I think they should 100% announce it sooner than later and get to work on it. But that's going to bring us to some of the stuff. So season 2 review. Our hands are out in the open here. We can't bluff anymore, Mike. It sounds like we both thoroughly enjoyed season 2 of the Umbrella Academy.
Oh yeah, it's great. I just love how every character in the Umbrella Academy, 1 through 7, right? There's 7 of. I was always like taking count on screen. I was like counting on my hands. I was like, okay, who haven't we seen yet? Who's missing right now? But every character has like grown and developed and just become like hot, as Klaus would say in one of the episodes. Wow, what did he say? Did we all get hot? Did we all get sexy?
Yeah.
So they all did.
Glow up.
Yeah, in every facet. I think my favorite thing, non-spoilery, is that number 1 got kind of goofy and wacky, and usually I kind of don't like that in TV shows, but it really worked for his character. He kind of became the comic relief in a lot of the scenes that he was in, which is just great because he's such like a big lug, and he was so serious in the first season that it just really worked for me. So everything about this season was great.
Well, I'm going to tell you there's 2 things I really enjoy, and you bring up one that ties into your here, that every character truly stands out on their own. Like, there's no really overlap in characters or arcs. Like, they're all very, very unique. And there are standouts. Like, again, to me, much like season 1, number 5 and Klaus really standout characters in this ensemble cast. What I also enjoy is that they reduce the runtime of every episode by like 10 minutes compared to like a normal thing. So binging this show, and I'm not a huge fan of binging, felt really, really good because there's no filler episodes, there's no slowdown. It starts fast and it does not stop until the end. And that is, a sign of, like, if you can't put down a show and you like, what's another 40 minutes? That's a sign that I'm really involved in this and really invested in this show. And I don't. It's hard to say without spoilers because this is such a good show that I want to talk about these details, but I don't want to do it without ruining it for somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should jump into spoilers right now. Talk about all the nitty gritty things that we loved in season 2, and then obviously check the time codes if you haven't finished season 2 yet. Jump to our next topic where we're going to be talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So let's jump into it. This is the spoiler free zone, or not spoiler free, spoiler filled, spoiler included zone.
So, first and foremost, before I forget, the end of this sets up the Sparrow Academy. Which is the recently announced 4th volume of the comic book, which is not written yet.
Yeah, and I have to thank you. The only reason I even knew about it, because you brought it up to me the other week when we were talking, that there is a new book coming out, and Sparrow Academy was thrown in there. I had no idea what it was. So when that's kind of tagged in to the very last scene of this season, I was just like, oh, Chris told me about that. Okay.
Yeah, and fun fact is there are actually 43 sparrows hidden throughout season 2.
Oh, really?
Yep, and all in the episodes, 43.
Oh,
so,
like the animal, like the bird, the sparrow.
Yeah, the birds. Yes.
Okay.
So sorry. Well, I think there's also maybe a few icons as well, but mostly the birds. So they're teasing this because in this show, season 1 ends. They jump back in time. They don't tell us where they're going. We'll come to find out they're in 1963, a week before JFK gets shot, and all the siblings came back at different time in the same alleyway, but in different years. So some have been there, 3 years? I think Klaus has been there the longest at 3 years, and then there's Allison and Luther and Diego and Vanya and Fives, and then Ben, of course, the ghost, came back with Klaus. And I will tell you, I really enjoyed Diego's arc in this season more than last one, because I think we talked last week, like, you're like, who's Diego and what does he do? Well, this season he definitely is like one of the main characters, kind of pushing. I think Luther maybe took the hit a little bit, being the muscle.
Yeah,
and the
he kind of had the least amount, I would say, development. But Diego was my favorite character throughout the whole season. Klaus is always an enjoyment to see him kind of manipulating and moving through kind of the 1960s with his cult. But yeah, I was really digging Diego. His whole look kind of improved too. Like, he had that like long hair and the goatee, and like I was really feeling the vibe of everything that he was doing. I love the banter where Five finds him in the nut house and just decides to leave him there, because you forget that like Five is the most pragmatic of the Umbrella Academy. Like, he'll do whatever he needs to do to get the job done. So he's just like, yeah, it makes sense to leave my brother in this insane asylum because like he can't escape, and it'll let me do what I need to do.
Yeah, and it's like one of the things, like, he's got, like, what do you say? He's like, you're Batman, but not as cool kind of thing. Is what he called him early on, which was a pretty fun jab at him. And he's got that hero complex. The whole point of him, he wants to save. His goal is to save JFK in this timeline, and you find out that the handler from the last season, who got shot in the head, actually lived, and it comes to be the bad guy. And I think that the inclusion of her makes me, I think, hurt a couple things. First and foremost, I would have loved to see more agency agents, if you will, the time agents, and also the fish guy. The fishbowl guy. I thought that was a really cool effect, and the fact that he smoked through his suit in the fishbowl. I'm like, I wish he would have been the bad guy. But I mean, and then the introduction of what's her name? I can't think of his Diego's girlfriend.
Yeah, I can't quite think of her name off the top of my head either. The daughter of the handler.
The daughter of the handler, who comes to find out is actually one of the people born on October 1st. One of the like the Hargreaves. She has abilities, the ability to copy abilities.
Yeah, I said the same thing when we talked about the first season of the show, and I think I even brought it up again the last week after we kind of talked about our initial impressions after watching episode 1, which is, on paper, none of this stuff makes any sense. No one would ever think that this would work in a TV show. Like, bam, we got time travel, we got superheroes, we got all of this other stuff going on too.
Very niche abilities.
Yeah, and not only did they lean into the time travel for this one, literally making it a period piece, they also added in, I can't believe it because I don't read the comic books, I didn't know this was coming, their dad's a freaking alien. I mean, it was just like, it was wow, it was surprise. Who knows, maybe he could be a mutant, he could be literally anything else. I don't know exactly what it's supposed to be.
He's an alien in the comic books, and they kind of set it up at the end of last season. With the Firefly jar that set out and like supposedly made all the people have the babies.
But we never really know the origin of it. And also in season 1, we are kind of hinted that he's been living longer than a normal human could, so you knew something was going on there. But it's just like, oh my god, this show will do anything, go anywhere, and nothing's off limits, and it's just surprising that they can really make it work. I think the only kind of things that I would kind of ding the show on are some things that I need a little bit more explanation for, and maybe this is just with dealing with time travel where things get a little bit confusing. They need this briefcase, right? They need these briefcases in order to travel where they need to go. But 5 has this ability to open portals to time travel, and we see this happen when 5 is fighting his older version of himself, which is absolutely hilarious because they have that time paradox symptoms.
Yeah,
where
the paradox disease where they start going crazy and angry.
Yeah. Which is great and hilarious. So once they kind of get to the point where he convinces his older self to go back to 2019, they open up this portal, and I'm just thinking, well, can't 5 just open up a portal and take all of his family with him? Isn't that just the best way to get out of 2019? But then I was thinking, maybe 5 is the only one that's allowed to go through these portals. Maybe they need the briefcase to do like multiple travels with people, right? I mean, I wasn't too sure what was going on there.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you don't think about it's like Avengers time travel. If you don't think about it, it works. Kind of thing. Like, you don't want to break it down because maybe he could jump forward, but maybe that doesn't stop the apocalypse from coming, and they would just all be together in an apocalypse in the future rather than
And then when 5 makes the deal with the handler, like, if you kill the board, I'll give you a briefcase. I'll send you back to 2019, and we'll make sure the apocalypse never happens. Well, they never really state how they're going to reverse the apocalypse. I guess you just kind of assume that the handler and this time agency has the ability to undo it. But I would think probably what happens is they weren't going to undo the apocalypse. The handler was just trying to get 5 out of the picture in reality. Yeah. But I thought maybe there was one too many secret organizations because you had the board members that they specifically said nobody knows who they are. They meet at a very mysterious time in a very mysterious location, and they control all of the goings-on of this very secret time organization that lords over everything. And then also you have this secret crew of people that the father from the Umbrella Academy is part of, and they're pulling strings just, in America and in world politics. So you kind of have like these two mysterious organizations, and it's just like we don't really learn that much about either of them, and one of them is dispatched very quickly.
Well, the other one is they both are. Because the alien version of
yeah, that's right. Well, we are aware of that organization for a couple episodes before they're all killed. So, I'm not saying that's necessarily a huge negative, but it would have been cool to maybe explore those groups a little bit more. But I mean, overall, I was just legitimately entertained every single episode. It's just a great thrill ride. You're kind of connecting the pieces of the past in your head of just like, oh yeah, what happened history-wise in the 1960s? What's going on here? Okay, they're in Dallas. What's going on up in the Umbrella Academy? I thought it was cool that we got to see number 1 take a bus back to New York to go watch his father basically entertaining people, having a party in the old Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's what I really enjoy, again about it is, like you said, they don't go anywhere. All the characters have something kind of going on, but at the same time, like, the Vanya thing, like her doing the apocalypse again, kind of treading some stuff. I'm glad she was able to learn her abilities, but I'm like, why does she always have to be the one that causes the apocalypse, kind of thing? Even though she didn't blow up the world, she just caused, the U.S. and Russia to have nuclear war a little earlier. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, with that, it just it was a very clean cut. I hopefully maybe that the ability for people, like, how did Vanya give someone else her powers? If that was rather convenient for the plot, the child. And it looks like the whole power giving situation was not totally undone. The kid still seems to have some sort of power kind of leaning. So I guess that could have affected the future. He could be in it.
One thing that I'm happy to see is the time traveling bits are great. They're very entertaining. They're so fun. I like to see how they play with time. But it does seem that season 3 is set up to do something different. It seems like we're going to stay in our own timeline. They have been messing with time for the last 2 seasons. So I feel like the characters are really going to feel the weight of we can't always be going back in time to fix things. Like more than likely we're going to mess things up. So we're going to have to stay in 2019. We're going to have to deal with what we've wrought back in the 60s, and we're just going to have to push forward and I guess figure out what the hell the Sparrow Academy is.
Right. Well, it's an alternate universe. Apparently these are not the regular Umbrella Academies. Their dad's alive. Mm-hmm. And Ben is also alive, looking very, very straight out of My Chemical Romance as well, with these shadow disclosed people. which is going to be interesting. I really liked that they were able. There's a lot of callbacks to season 1 in this. Again, Luther eating all the food every time. Like, he wasn't fighting, he was just eating. What was cool, again, Lila was the name of that character. I had to look it up. Diego's girlfriend, who is also one of these, not really a Hargreaves sibling, but like, one of the people with the powers. But like the fact that she was using her copycat ability early on, and we just didn't realize it. Like, when she was fighting Diego, she was using his ability against the people shooting at them in the hallways.
Yeah, and that was a nice little twist when she was fighting those cops in the basement. Because when I first saw it, I was just like, okay, come on, that's a stretch. Just because you, quote unquote, your mom taught you how to fight, you're not just going to be able to dismantle, like, disarm a guy with a gun. But then later you figure out, because she's basically a super powered person too. Yeah, that would be super easy for her to do.
And then she was fighting Five in the warehouse when he was trying to get to the handler before she made the deal with him. She was using his ability to teleport around. That's why when he teleported, she wasn't there anymore. But they never showed us. They showed us off screen, which was cool for those secrets. I mean, I think there's a couple things a little on the nose. What's her name? The sis Allison. She thankfully got her voice back after several years. But being kind of on the nose of the political protests, I thought that's very timely with our world. I don't think they planned that because they filmed this last year. But I was like, this is. I didn't feel like they got anywhere with that story other than the fact her husband just didn't trust her at the end.
I was kind of expecting, since none of these characters are perfect, and on some levels they're all a little bit selfish. I thought maybe she would have left her husband like a little note, just to kind of give the African American community in America like a fighting edge. Like, maybe she would have wrote down maybe something that's going to happen in history that they can look out for. So, like, maybe theoretically when they make it back to 2019, the civil rights movement has progressed even further than it normally would have. That would have been kind of cool to give a little bit of an edge there.
And we could find that in the next season if they decide to unveil that a little bit more. But also, I think her and Luther used their powers the least out of everyone in this season, which is, I know she has reservations against it, but I felt it was kind of, what good can she do if no one can hear her? I feel bad. And then the loss of Ghost Ben, who could possess people this season, which was really fun to see him doing that in Klaus's body.
Yeah, the Ghost Spin situation, it seems like it's definitely going to tie into the third season, because they never showed us the other members of the Sparrow Academy because they're all in shadow. But Ben specifically says, hey, who the hell are these people?
Yeah, he is the one in there.
So it seems like they're not familiar to him. So I'm guessing that the other members of the Sparrow Academy up on that catwalk aren't the same cast members. It's not like they're going to have like evil twins, right, in 2019.
Right.
So I'm
probably
guessing
some other kid, because there were 43 kids born, right? So he probably got other ones instead.
Yeah. So maybe the father specifically decided to do the same plan of, I'm going to get these super powered people, but I'm going to go out of my way to avoid the people that visited me in the 60s, and I'm going to pick different people. And since he never met Ben, he never saw him, that's why Ben is still part of the group, because he didn't know to avoid that character. So that'll be cool. I like the idea of like adding more superpowered people there. I'm assuming they're all going to have different unique abilities, and it's nice to have the father around, because you need a foil. You need like a villain, and the father is a really good villain because he's just such a piece of shit. He doesn't care about anybody or anything, and even we see some flashbacks of who's the funeral? Is that number 7? Is that Ben? I think he's number 7's Vanya. Maybe he's 6.
I think he's 6, because he's right before.
Yeah. But when he died and they're having his funeral and they're all around his casket, like even the father's being a dick there. He's just like, you should have done better, and he wouldn't have died. So it seems like he's going to be the real foil in season 3 that they have to work against with their daddy issues and everything. And it was cool. The one last thing I'll say, I liked how things ramped up in the last 2 episodes, because I thought the big conclusion was going to be around JFK and his possible or not assassination, what's going to happen there. And then that kind of wraps up and ends, and I'm just like, oh, what are they going to do in the second episode? And then they have this huge wave of these people with briefcases all across the lawn, and then they all die, and then they're just like, oh, we need a briefcase, and they're like, well, pick whatever one you want. Everyone's dead around me. So yeah, it's just a great conclusion. I loved everything about the season. I feel like I could sit and talk about this for like another hour, so I don't want to belabor it too much longer. But man, if you have Netflix and you're not watching Umbrella Academy, you're making a huge mistake.
I don't have Netflix and I watched Umbrella Academy, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I am excited to see the next season and kind of see what it is. And I also, again, I think, just to touch on that last battle, showing Diego's abilities are actually bending things, like physics is actually his ability in the comic books. Yeah, and to show that was a fun reveal.
Yeah, that was very confusing at first. I was like, wait a minute, he stops bullets, and then when I thought about it, it's like, oh, I guess he kind of just more has like command over projectiles in general. So
yeah, because that's how he does his knife thing.
But bullets would be in that wheelhouse. So that is kind of jarring if you don't kind of think about it in a broader sense past knives.
And that's the only thing he can't do in the TV show that he does in the comic books is he can hold his breath indefinitely as well.
Oh, okay.
And that's why his name is the Kraken in the comic books. But this was a great time. I had a really good time, binging it and watching it. And I will tell you, the thing I saw before it actually was the intro where Fives jumps back to 63, and that intro where they show all the siblings using all their powers against Russia. I was really hoping to see something like that against the briefcase people.
Oh, gotcha.
Because rather than Vanya just wiping them all out, I was like, man, I really want to see them all just go all out, like a true force of nature, like the true Umbrella Academy. So very, very good show. I'd recommend it highly. So on that note, we're going to switch over back to what we were going to talk about. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the final episode of the series, has a 2-hour finale this week on Wednesday.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about this until I saw, I think Clark Gregg retweeted some sort of promo video. I think what I'll do is I think I am going to tune in for this series finale, kind of out of context of everything that's happened, just so I can kind of see how emotionally all the characters wrap up. And also it's just kind of fun. When you haven't tuned into a show for a while, you kind of get to see what people are up to now. Like, oh, wow, I can't believe this person lost their arm and now they have robot arms, which I feel like happens in this show quite a bit. It'll be fun to see what happens.
Right, how they they ended the show 2 seasons ago, and that's all, the last time I watched. Whenever they sent Coulson off to spend his final days in Tahiti. So how do they wrap up the show again? With all now this season had time travel, and space travel, and even I think everyone has abilities at this point through some sort of factors. So I think I'd like to watch it, but I'm probably going to read more about the finale before I get to watch it, sadly. So I'm excited for this show to see how they finally got it, because this show started so slow and so rough in 2013 that I was not expecting it to make it 7 full years.
Well, it's like the Jeff Loeb dominoes are finally starting to fall, because after this we just need Hellstrom, Hitmonkey, and MODOK, right? Those are the last 3 Loeb projects.
Yeah, and I don't even know how much effect he has on those animated ones anymore, because I believe animation can be redone, so they may have some more input from other people at that point. But Hellstrom is still moving forward. We'll see later. But on that note, in the Marvel world, Captain Marvel 2 has found its director with Nia DaCosta. The previous 2 directors, I forget their names. There's 2 of them. Original Captain Marvel said they're not coming back for it. I don't think it was bad blood. I just think they wanted a different project. But Nia DaCosta is doing the upcoming Candyman remake movie, which was supposed to be out this year, but they delayed it. Are you familiar with Candyman?
Yeah, I saw the trailer for the new Candyman movie, and they also made a really cool artistic, theater kind of paper puppet trailer that had a very kind of cool, creepy vibe to it. And so everything about the Candyman film looks pretty cool. I think it's Jordan Peele like produced, or if not, he is probably really into it because I think I saw him tweet about it. So I would assume maybe he has some hand in the film. The Monkey Paw Productions, which is his company. So I'm excited to see it. So it must be good enough, subversive enough, or it must have some sort of director's lens on it if this director is now being picked up by Marvel. Like, this is a very classic move from Marvel, right? You know, picking up these kind of horror thriller directors, right? So that makes me excited. But also, I think I'm excited to see a new director come in for Captain Marvel 2, because in my opinion, the first Captain Marvel, you know, it's kind of on par with, you know, Doctor Strange and some of these other origin movies where, you know, they kind of start out kind of weak, but you really want to see the character develop into something a little bit more. So I feel like this will be nice to bring in kind of some fresh eyes on the character.
Yeah, and they're really, again, Marvel is being very, I think, whether proactively or not, diverse in their hiring for these movies going forward. With DaCosta being, I think, I mean, all the articles I saw first were like, she's the first black woman to direct a Marvel film. And I'm like, well, that shouldn't really determine her ability. But, you know, so, I mean, her filmography, she's a relatively new director, but, you know, she did work on Candyman, which is awesome. And then also, you know, being picked for, you know, Captain Marvel 2 is great. And I think that's going to tie into probably what the character, her best friend from the 90s, her daughter being
yeah. She's supposed to have more of a prominent role in this second film, right?
Yeah, and I think also supposed to be in WandaVision a little bit as well. So
WandaVision, yeah, she's in that.
So I think, you know, making that maybe more of the focal point rather than aliens could be something cool. But you never know with the secret. You know, we talked about Secret Invasion last week, not Secret Wars, Mike. Secret Invasion.
I get confused, Chris.
For Captain Marvel, we all secret everything in Marvel at this point. Nothing's public, so that's exciting for Captain Marvel too. And you know, they're not slowing down their production, even though a lot of stuff isn't coming out right now. But we're going to talk a little bit about Disney Plus here for a little bit. A couple things. The Marvel shows The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, and specifically Hawkeye are preparing to film in Atlanta again soon. So,
I can only assume that there's lots of COVID protocols going on here. My wife has been chatting and networking with a lot of people in the industry right now, and she's chatted with some people that are just like, yeah, I had to quarantine in a hotel, you know, for 2 weeks, and then I get to go back to work. So it doesn't seem like just Atlanta in general is opening up. It seems like these Marvel movies have to move forward. They are very, very important for Disney, because I think Disney, for the first time in I don't even remember how many years.
20-something years.
Yeah, posted a quarter loss. At, you know, not surprising. These are very unique times, and Disney, pretty much all of Disney's revenue comes from in-person events, theme parks, and movies. So they're just like, oh, we're going to do everything possible that we can to get these movies back up and running again. So everybody quarantine for 2 weeks. You're going to be living at this studio for the next 3 months. We're going to give you everything we need, but there's no ins and outs. You know, it's kind of like when you go to a club. No ins and outs. You got to stay in here. You got to, as soon as you're gone, you can't come back. Yeah. So I'm excited to see things kick back up again, because the MCU is a finely crafted timeline of stories, and it seems like they're worried about airing these things out of place. Yeah,
and honestly, you know, again, I just as a whole, I mean, I hate that, you know, I want them to take the precautions, and, you know, you can't, people who need those jobs, what do you do with them? You know, I feel bad, but like, hopefully they are taking precautions, and these are safe places for people to work.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're lucky, because, I mean, movie sets are kind of very isolated pods to begin with, especially a Marvel film, because you don't want any spoilers leaking. You can't have people on set taking pictures that aren't supposed to be there. You know, fortunately, they're not anything like a public school where kids can congregate, and then they go back home, and then they go all over the place. They go to grocery stores. So I think we're kind of lucky the way movies are produced right now, that taking the right precautions, hopefully everyone can be safe.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing here is Hawkeye preparing to film soon. So that means we'll probably get some. I imagine we're going to have a Disney Plus or a Marvel event soon, where we get, like, possibly maybe the first trailer for Eternals.
Please.
Some announcements for Hawkeye. Maybe our first trailers. I guess second trailer since Super Bowl for Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision, and possibly our first look at Loki. I'm excited to see a lot of this stuff. So hopefully we get something very soon. And we'll talk about the fandom here in a minute. For that. Also on Disney Plus, The Mandalorian is the most in-demand original series across new streaming services this year.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
Almost a year later, still is the most in-demand series, which is great. And the season 2 trailer could head our way this month, and they're still shooting for that October release. So, based on last year's trailer, we could be getting a Mandalorian season 2 trailer in August.
I got to imagine before The Mandalorian, the most in-demand thing was Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. So people are looking for that like hyper premium streaming show right now.
Yeah, what do you watch and what are people talking about? What meme do you want to know before the rest of the world shares it? So that's what it is. And then lastly, Disney Plus as a service has reached their 5-year global subscriber goal in only 8 months.
Ooh. I wonder what that would be if there wasn't a pandemic. I feel like every streaming service right now is like is in a boon time because everyone's home and they just want to watch stuff. Yeah. So I bet that they would still be doing well without the pandemic just because they're freaking Disney. Right. And stuff would be coming out on time more now, so we would be watching some of these things and not just like talking about them being delayed already. So I'm not surprised. Disney's a powerhouse.
Yeah, they're doing great, and honestly, they're adding new content for them every week this month or this summer that we talked about earlier in the year. I think I was my wife was watching X-Men 1 on it the other day, and then she's like, "Well, now I got to go watch X-Men 2, but it's not on here yet." So I was like, well, I can hook you up with something. So it's fun that people are watching these new stuff that are dropping on there, even though it's not new for us. But speaking of X-Men, the show is also on Disney Plus. The animated series producers have had a revival talk with Disney.
Every time I think of that just pops into my head. I think somebody on Twitter, there was a big thread going around like what's the best song for like an intro to a TV show, and I didn't see anybody mention the X-Men animated series. I was like, what are you people doing? You need to really kind of clue yourself into the best rock riff ever.
Well, you play that or you play the Spider-Man one, and people just know.
Yes.
The 90s they had that. We're not talking 80s gummy bears on Disney. We're talking X-Men, Spider-Man. They had those rockin' theme songs.
Well, wasn't the Spider-Man theme song actually produced by like Trent Reznor, or it was some like actual like rock star at the time? Like that's the Spider-Man theme song is actually produced by like a professional rock person.
I'm gonna pull it up here.
Rock person is the only way I can describe it.
Joe Perry, the lead guitarist and lead singer or occasional lead singer of Aerosmith.
Yeah, that's what it was. I knew it was somebody that knew what they were doing. But yeah, the 90s was all about guitar opening up your cartoon show.
Are you talking about Dragon Ball Z, Rock the Dragon?
Oh my gosh, this is nostalgia right here.
Yeah, this is pure innocent nostalgia. I don't need to watch the episodes. I just need the theme song.
If we were one of those like morning shock jock radio shows, we would have a soundboard with all of this stuff pre-programmed, and I wouldn't have to sing it into the microphone.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't have to. But hopefully you guys go out and listen to these songs very soon. I'm really crossing my fingers, Mike, that when Marvel does an X-Men movie, they take that theme song and implement it in like a modern way.
That would be so cool. Maybe it's like in the third act when all of the X-Men come together, and then that starts like playing in the background. Ooh boy, make my skin bubble with goose.
They have the ability, they have the talent. Let's see it happen. Mm-hmm. So the next topic is going to be something we've talked about a little bit already here. And it's not just this movie as a whole, but the idea as a whole is that Mulan will be in select theaters and then also able to rent / add to your Disney Plus account for $30 this fall on the same day. And this is a brand new thing that we're seeing. We talked a little bit about it last week, right? What was it? Was it premium video on demand? We talked. Was it Universal and Paramount, right? Mm-hmm. Universal and AMC theaters. So Disney's doing this with Mulan. Now, this is a great thing and a horrible thing at the same time. And I think you agree. We've talked about this in depth. So I think it's great for people like myself, maybe yourself, who don't want to go to the movie theaters, right? at this time, but want to still watch a movie day and date release.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I want to take people back to a moment where this was just post heyday, I want to say, of TiVo, when people were just recording live television still, and then they were going back and watching it. And then this new concept of video on demand happened, where you could just watch your video whenever you wanted. You didn't have to record it. You could just hit a button and start playing. What a novel idea, Chris. Isn't that so funny? And then that started to expand into kind of like these digital marketplaces like the iTunes store, where like, oh, I can just rent my movies digitally. I can purchase them digitally. I don't have to go to Blockbuster anymore. If I have a halfway decent internet connection, I can just watch this stuff at home. How novel, how fun. So now, I don't know when exactly the word premium had been added to POV. I feel like it's relatively new.
It's this year, mostly with the advent. I think Trolls World Tour was the first one to do it.
Yeah, so now we have this whole concept of premium, where we're not waiting for the videos to kind of come out, on DVD, and then you also have the digital option. Now you're getting the ability to watch it sooner, and it's like the soonness is increasing, because at first it was kind of like Bloodshot, right, at the beginning of the year, where it was in theaters for a couple of weeks, and then you could rent it for, $20, I think was the price point?
Yeah, I think you buy it first and then the rentals later. But yeah, you could buy it for $20 if you didn't watch it in theaters.
So now the envelope has been pushed even further. Now we're day and date. The movie's going to come out in theaters, and then you can just hop onto your digital marketplace and buy it for Mulan is going to be $30 a pop, which that's really pushing the envelope. I feel like the marketplace had kind of settled at $20, and then Disney was just like, no, we're Disney. If you want to watch this literally the same day, $30 is the price point. And I'm really curious if the rest of the industry is going to run with the $30, right? Well, like when the next Fast and the Furious movie comes out, I know we'll be in a different world. We might not be in a lockdown anymore, but for just a theory's sake, if this continued forward, would Fast and the Furious also feel like they could charge $30, and not the $20 for day and date?
So I think day and date will be higher than rentals and or not rentals, or first purchase options. Same day DVD came out, right? They price them the same price as DVDs, and that's the $20 thing. So to move that up, they changed the dollar sign. Now $30 may sound like a lot, but I guarantee you, if I went and watched this in theaters this summer, I would have spent well over $30 for two people. If I get this on my Disney Plus account, I want to share this account with my parents. I've got two kids. We share with my in-laws, whatever. This is a steal for a movie. Like, I feel like this would make me want to buy this more than if it just came to iTunes, because I don't share my iTunes. I share my Disney Plus account. So I think there's a benefit to, $30 is not a lot, because you don't have to. Like we've talked about, if you have kids, which this movie is Disney movie, right? Kids, with targeted kids, you're going to pay $30 to own it, watch as many times as you want, and not have to go to the movie theater.
That's where the biggest advantage of the price point come in, is when you have kids. But I would slightly push back a little bit on when you say going to the theaters with at least two people, because you're going to have to factor in other things to your equation to kind of make that $30 be a discount. Because for me, even out here in LA where the tickets are expensive, the movie theater that we go to, it's usually around like $12-13 a ticket. So for 2 tickets to go see Mulan, which I know this is all a moot point, because we all know I'm not going to see Mulan anyway. But if I were to, I would be out, possibly $24, maybe $26 to go see Mulan. And then you're going to have to throw things in like gas and snacks to get me to that $30 price point. But you could also say at the same time, like, I could just stay home and eat the food that I have here for free. So I do think you are correct that once you add a third person into the equation, a fourth person, it starts to become more of a value. But I think for me over here at home with just me and my wife, like, I am only dropping $30 if I'm absolutely certain I want to watch this movie. Like, if I'm on the fence in any sort of way, I'm not dropping $30.
Well, I guarantee you that this price will also go down. I mean, what was the average? 2 months, 3 months to DVD sales?
Oh yeah.
So as soon as DVDs hit, they'll drop it to $20. Like, this is just like you're paying for, like, the regular premium access. This is video on demand. I equate more with streaming, or like a cheaper, like a $10 thing. So I think you're gonna see these go down as they happen. But like I think this is also, again, a test case scenario. This is literally the first streaming service that I've seen that offer this. You're like, well, this is new. Will it work? Will it fail? Like, Mulan's a risky business to take on because that's an expensive movie to make.
Yeah, so. and this is a totally unique situation where this might not even be a thing next year when people can go back to the movies like normal. I think the biggest point of contention that I told you I had about this whole idea in general is I like the purest idea of opening my Disney Plus and I can watch everything I see for free. I don't like the slippery slope of opening up any streaming service out there and then I'm starting to be piecemeal charged for things. Now I know that this is a unique movie title. This is coming out before everything else. This wouldn't even normally be on a streaming service, but I'm thinking down the road to where when Netflix stops getting all of this VC funding and they're basically pushing this machine forward, and when the catalog stops growing and then they have to start, collecting money in other avenues, is there a chance where Netflix in 5 years I open it up and if I want to watch, like Extraction 4 starring like Chris Hemsworth, if I want to watch it on day one, I got to pay $30. But if I wait 3 more months, I can watch it for free. I just don't like this idea of transactions being inside of my streaming service. Now, I know it kind of makes sense with Disney Plus, where it's just like, well, where else are they going to sell it? If I buy a Disney movie on Amazon, like you said, it would be cool if that Disney movie that I bought on Amazon or on YouTube or wherever I buy it digitally folds into my Disney Plus catalog. But I just don't like this idea of buy buttons being in my streaming services. I give them one monthly fee and that's it.
Well, I think this is the opportunity for them to do. No one's done this, right? This is the toes in the water, and then we build out this system because it is reactionary. This is not proactionary. This is reactionary. Because you're familiar with the Movies Anywhere app, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So it ties up your Vudu with your Disney, with your Amazon, with your iTunes, so you can watch them all anywhere. And that's great. I think this will probably tie into that. I don't think people are going to do this, but if you want to watch it day and date, my kids are beating on the door, or my wife's I really want to watch Mulan, she's gonna pay for it, but then in 5 months it'll be on there free anyway, so it's we just pay for that early access, and it's like going to the theater. And I think I do feel $30 for me is nothing, because again, is what I would pay, because again, I'm not going without food or drink, but also me, I'm a premium guy. I'm gonna pick my seats and go to the IMAX theaters. So does this mean in 2 months, will Black Widow do this if this proves to be a moneymaker? Is that what we wanted, that we talked about last week, and this is how we have to do it for now because they're trying to build this idea out, not necessarily...
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that you and me both would prefer to watch our Marvel movies in a movie theater, even with the theoretical chance of running into really poor theater guests. We do the best we can to pick movie screenings that hopefully we won't run into those people. But if Black Widow needs to come out in order for these streaming shows to fit in with the MCU timeline, there's reveals in Black Widow that are going to be spoiled. If we watch any other show, if we watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier beforehand. So if Black Widow just needs to be out there in the world, so be it. And that Black Widow is a film that I would pay that premium for, because I'm absolutely certain I need to see that movie.
But I also think that maybe it's not the timeline, but you just mentioned earlier at the top of this, Disney's reported their first loss in 20 years. How do we ensure Disney? I don't think in the future they're going to tank. They're a large company. They have all this other income options. But how do they keep themselves, afloat for some of this stuff and show, hey, we're still making money? Is it because we put Black Widow in, not because it's other other things happening? They may not even be done filming by this point. But hey, we got to make money. We need to come up with an idea, and this is what they're doing. Is how I feel it is more so than, well, we got to keep the timeline for Marvel right, because we'll hit a year and a half with no Marvel movie, no Marvel content, Mike, when this lands, and that's a drought if I've ever heard of one. Yeah,
you brought up a good point where this news dropped during an investors call. So because we're at the end of a quarterly earnings, so it makes sense that the next call we might be hearing news from Black Widow, what would be the end of September, right?
End of September, early October, depending on when they actually have the call.
So we might be hearing some Black Widow news about this possibly PVOD release in probably about 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah, I could see this being something they implement for the next 12 months if they have the content. Now, if they don't have content to release, and I think they do. I mean, they own all the Fox. There's a bunch of movies that were delayed. If they want to get them out there, I think this is when because again, also just to say these are going to theaters as well. If you want to brave the theater, that is your choice. But I don't think there's going to be any monetary gain from the theaters as much as they've had before.
We did get some confirmation over the weekend from the director of New Mutants that said, I would love to see the movie released in any form because I want people to see it. But he specifically said that there was contractual obligations for New Mutants to hit theaters. So maybe New Mutants could go this same route, where it's in theaters for just a couple weeks, comes out VOD. But technically, New Mutants does need to debut in a theater. So we know that for certain now.
Well, and if it goes to PVOD, I mean, like this, it may not be on Disney Plus, but like a premium price, right, for watching it early, and they take that money and give it to the people they need to pay for the contract. That's one way to make some money. I think New Mutants has an opportunity to make a lot of money, and we've been underselling it for a while. So I'm hoping, knock on wood, for some good stuff there. Moving on, I've spent a couple hours the past couple days playing Marvel's The Avengers on my PlayStation 4, Mike. In the beta, it came out. If you've pre-ordered it, you have access right now. If you did not pre-order it, PlayStation will have open access to this Friday, Mike. You might be able to go ahead and pre-download it already if you go to the store. And they opened it. It was supposed to open up 9 p.m. on Friday. They opened it up a little earlier on Friday, so I was able to put in a couple hours Friday, a couple hours last night, and a couple hours today. This is a lot of content. There are some of those levels take like an hour to play through in this beta. And there's only like the 8A level, which is really fun, which they cut some stuff short to make it for time, but to play as every Avenger's great. Playing as a Kamala and Hulk for 2 levels, those are very long levels. It takes a little bit to get used to the characters. Then it opens up the simulations and the harm rooms, and this game is really, really fun, Mike. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm having a great time playing this game and playing these characters. I've got a chance to sample, again, Kamala and Hulk and their levels, but I also took Iron Man for a spin last night, who has the ability to go between like rockets and like repulsors, and then Black Widow today, who is very fast, agile, and has some really, really powerful attacks, and she has different guns you can upgrade in her tree, and there's only one tree to upgrade, but like there's a lot to do in this game, Mike. I'm impressed with how they're able to make these characters feel like the Avengers.
I mean, that's good. I mean, that's good to hear. People were, I think, cautiously optimistic about the game when some of the gameplay was coming out. But like I've said before, you were going to be my barometer on this game. If Chris, who has basically completed every mission in every Marvel Lego game and played all the Ultimate Alliance games, if he is pleased by this game, I feel like that's a good sign.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot. I mean, if you love Ultimate Alliance, this is like a very high-def Ultimate Alliance. You have 4 characters in a level, right? You have your skill trees and your costumes. It's very much so without the being compiled together. But this game is beautiful. The enemies are fun to fight against. They're still learning stuff in this. I sent you a video. Apparently, as Iron Man, your ultimate is the Hulkbuster, right? Well, you can give the Hulkbuster to another character on your party. You don't have to put it on yourself, and then still buff really everybody. Cool. So there's little secrets, and there's a secret level in the beta, Mike, that's like pretty much a large winter level, which took me an hour to beat, full of just treasure chests and enemies to fight to level up and get better gear. And you can only find it by, and I'll tell people, there's one called Stark Realities. Go do all the side missions on it in that level before you finish it, and then you will more than likely get the coordinates to this hidden snow tundra level, which I played. So like, there's so many things in this game that are just teasing us, and I'm having a good time. They have I think what is similar to a battle pass for characters, where you complete daily missions or weekly missions, and then you can tier up and get more free skins and free unlocks for the characters and more coinage, if you will. But they give you a bunch in it. You don't have to spend any money in the beta to get that. So I mean, if you get a chance, Mike, this coming weekend, you should download it and give it a try, and we can play together.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, so I got the time.
It's great for video games. The other thing is I think probably the most butthurt I've seen video game players in a while, and probably rightfully so, and I use this term, is that Spider-Man is coming to this game.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a little bit of news earlier this week, wasn't it?
Yes, it is. Very, very vocal news, but only on the PlayStation 4 version. He will not be on the PC, Stadia, or Xbox version. So if you have the PlayStation 4 and you're playing the Avengers, you will get Spider-Man for free and some other content, but that is it.
I mean, like, wow, what a kick in the crotch if you have an Xbox. It does make me wonder if possibly there's going to be some sort of Soul Calibur route that they go where, like, Xbox users are going to get Wolverine. Yeah. But then at the same time, I would be really upset because I have a PlayStation. It's like, well, fucking Wolverine's awesome. I want to be Wolverine.
I think they said there's no other exclusives in the works. This was the one-off kind of thing.
Yeah. Because right now it seems very one-sided, which would make people very upset.
And I think it has to do something with Sony owning Rocksteady, or not Rocksteady, the one who made Insomniac, who made the Spider-Man game. I think it has something to do with that. But I don't know what the hires. I don't think the developers actively made a choice that said we only want Spider-Man in the PlayStation 4 game, because they make the game at the same time for both consoles. So I guarantee you they were testing on Xbox, but they were like, because if you play with, I mean, you won't know on Xbox that you don't have him, but I mean on PlayStation you'll be able to play with him. So I hope he's fun. I hope he's good, but I'm really kind of upset about the last generation exclusive content kind of coming in here and swooping in on that. So but yeah, I really hope you try the beta with me next weekend, Mike. And anybody else, I tried to talk to other people who pre-ordered it and they were having a good time as well for that. So other than the Marvel Avengers game, we haven't had any other big game, from DC for a while until Rocksteady has announced the Suicide Squad game is coming, and they have given us our first teaser here on Twitter, and Superman's in the sights here.
He's in the crosshairs.
Yes. What is fun about this is Rocksteady made all the Arkham games, so this looks like you have a squad, a group of people. Probably everyone has different abilities, but notice on that picture, Mike, do you have it pulled up? There's some red glow from Superman's eyes. Either he's shooting lasers or he's possessed. I'm gonna go with possessed. If you're not just hunting heroes. The Suicide Squad doesn't usually just hunt heroes, right? So I think if they're they're targeting big heroes, especially Superman. There's got to be a reason.
Yeah, so. I mean, I don't think this necessarily confirms that this is going to be tied into James Gunn's Suicide Squad. But I think this is DC going, we have James Gunn, who created the Guardians for the MCU, making us a Suicide Squad movie. We need to basically synergize with this, create a game. And I mean, this is a Rocksteady game. Like, that's a big deal. Like, the Rocksteady Batman games were like genre defining for Batman. Yeah. So the fact that they're doing this treatment for the Suicide Squad and there's a new film coming out is just going I think this confirms Warner Brothers knows it has something good with that film coming out. And this is pretty cool. Like, has there literally ever been a Suicide Squad video game? Like, this is a big deal.
I don't think so at all. And honestly, again, I think like Arkham didn't really follow Batman Begins. I think it'll be its own take. But like you said, the name, the synergy between it is going to be awesome. I think they'll have the characters. They'll probably have the skins from the movie from those characters. This is a really fun take, and they're going to be doing more reveals on August 22nd, which I think is some sort of DC event maybe that week. I don't know. But I mean, I think this is gonna be fun. I'm really excited to kind of see the gameplay. How does it even play? What do you do when you're after Superman and you're just a bunch of C-list villains kind of thing? So August 22nd is the date for DC Fandome, and I'm kind of playing that down a little bit. But yeah, so Fandome looks to be one of the biggest DC events I've ever seen. And there are people confirmed to be guests: Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Robert Pattinson, Ezra Miller. There are 300 guests announced for this thing. They are not holding back for Fandome at all. And that's mind blowing to me. This is a Comic-Con in and of itself for DC.
It makes you kind of wonder that if Comic-Con would have happened this year, would this all have been programmed across the weekend at Comic-Con, like throughout Hall H and the bigger ballrooms? Mm-hmm. Or did Warner Brothers come to the conclusion that it's been so long since we've had any big announcement or any big reveals or any big panels? You know, we're kind of at the teetering point of kind of all of this fresh new wave of DC stuff coming out, that we need our own kind of... what does Disney call their event again? D23. D23, yeah. Like, is this Warner Brothers creating a D23, or, you know, is this more reactionary to the times? Either way, no matter what it is, I agree. I am very excited because I love reveals. I love I love big announcements. DC's always been good at big announcements, whether the product, you know, ends up being subpar. If you watch the you can go to YouTube right now, watch the announcement at Comic-Con for the Batman vs Superman movie. Wow, you can feel the chills in the room coming through your monitor at you. So
I remember the leaks for that trailer, like that they only showed there. I remember that. That was so fun. And we weren't even there.
So I think this will be a great, fun time. Who knows? Maybe we'll see some of that Suicide Squad video game at this.
Well, they said that the August 22nd there will be more reveals, so there will be some of the thing. I imagine like a cinematic more than anything. But also in that terms of Suicide Squad, James Gunn, Idris Elba, Margot Robbie, Alice Braga, John Cena, Jay Courtney, Nathan Fillion, Pete Davidson, all going to be in this thing. So I think we're going to get a Suicide Squad footage or trailer.
Yeah. I think there's no way that we don't get at least one trailer. It would be asinine to have this event without any sort of like debut teaser trailer or something like that. So hopefully we get more than one trailer and not just a bunch of like logo title reveals.
Well, Wonder Woman 84 is still coming out in October. So I imagine maybe a final trailer for that, or maybe another release date announcement. I don't know. Maybe that it goes premium video on demand. So there's that, and then also the big thing is this the one we shared here. Dwayne Johnson shows that he will be there as Black Adam. It looks like they have some photos of him in an outfit that they're going to show us with this tease here at the end of this video. Did you happen to watch it?
Yeah, you get what is it? It's just like him silhouetted, really.
Yeah, so I imagine there's going to. I imagine there's going to be some sort of reveal with him, like the real photo, maybe the outfit. The actor Noah Centineo is also going to be there, so there's an opportunity here for a lot of good stuff to come out of this. Here at Superhero Slate, we do have the capacity to be excited about DC, and we are excited right now. So be happy. Very, very much so. Very much so. And you know, we'll just keep playing it by ear as we get closer. That's in like what 3 weeks, 2 weeks from now. Three weeks. I'll open up the calendar here. That would be not this Saturday, but the next Saturday. So in 2 Saturdays, we'll have all Saturday and be able to come in Sunday with some news for you. Report that. And then also, I think we're going to get some of the Zack Snyder's Justice League there. I think they said like the first official video is going to be there. And in that case, he's over on Vero doing his thing, showing us the first look of his Steppenwolf design. A low-res version, it looks like while he's editing here. Looks cool, I guess. Yeah, it looks kind of like the Steppenwolf that we got in the movie, but like the smoothing slider has been like turned down. There's a lot more jagged edges on him. It looks much more similar to the Steppenwolf that we saw in that Batman vs Superman. But that was technically not in the film debut, right? That was like in the bonus credits scene on the DVD, but it was still considered canon or something. I don't even know. It's hard to keep track of. It's hard to keep track of this Snyderverse right now. But I will agree that one of the problems with Justice League was the visual component of Steppenwolf. There was other problems with Steppenwolf, like his characters and his motivations and whatnot. But legitimately, one of his problems was his design, and I think this is an improvement. So I will give it that. Yeah, I agree. I think it looks good. I think it also, I think his body he's not wearing armor. He's not an armored gray person. This looks like it's part of his actual body physique, so making him look more alien, which is cool. I think the final effect we got in the end of Batman v Superman was pretty good. So hopefully this ties. I don't think this is worth a whole different version, just changing the look of Steppenwolf, but maybe it'll be visually different enough that it feels like a different character if there's more to him that we didn't see. So, I think it's fine. Thank you, Zack Snyder, on Vero for showing us more.
Oh, Vero.
One of the other things I think we'll get at Fandome is a Batman teaser trailer. I think they have. I think they recently maybe classified one in England, so we may be getting one very very shortly for Fandome. But I think the biggest news out of the Batman today is that Zoe Kravitz could potentially get a Catwoman spin-off on HBO Max, a series.
Yeah. That's I mean, I suppose that's good news for Zoe Kravitz, because the other Zoe Kravitz news this week, that she had a kind of reboot of the film High Fidelity that was turned into a series for HBO, and that was canceled after one season. Hulu. Yeah, sorry, Hulu. What did I say?
You said
HBO? Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it was on Hulu. I don't know if just people weren't watching it, but I heard critically that it was pretty good. So it seems like it's as great that she can move on to other bigger things, because I would arguably say that a Catwoman show on HBO Max would probably be more exposure than High Fidelity. But here we go. Another spinoff of the Batman. So we're going to have Gotham PD and possibly Catwoman. And is Batman going to be in any of these?
Well, I think Catwoman as a show is more exciting to me than Catwoman as a movie. If you give them the choice, do you want to watch a Catwoman movie or a Catwoman show? I'm going to tell you, give me the show.
And also, a Catwoman show is more interesting to me than a Gotham PD show. So this is definitely improvement over the news that we talked about the other week.
Yeah. So maybe I don't think maybe they won't mix then. Hopefully it's not Catwoman will be on Gotham PD, because she's just stealing diamonds the whole time or something. I don't know. Doesn't sound.
I mean, I always dig heists. Heist stuff is always fun. I'll have to admit, I've never read a standalone Catwoman comic, so I don't really know what her energy is like when she's not around Batman. But I would say this is a good area to mine for a series for sure. And it's good to see that it's attached to the Batman series, because if they were making a Catwoman show more off of the Arrowverse, I would be more worried, because I feel like since it's connected to the Batman, there's a lot more money flowing into the show than if it was like a kind of like one of those CW routes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, and you'll be able to have a little more. Maybe it look just like the movie, but be a TV show. Keep the same film style, if you will. Were you also able to catch the Ryan Reynolds cut of Green Lantern that he shared earlier this week?
Well, I'm looking at this video right now. Obviously, it's muted because I'm listening to you right now. But what's going on here, Chris?
So essentially, he just shared the secret Reynolds cut. He just cuts some of the weirdest stuff out of Green Lantern. He uses the intro or the ending of Deadpool, where he's reading the Green Lantern script and shoots himself, and then made this weird cut of stuff that makes no sense. Was that Tom Cruise's face briefly at the end with the weird version of his mask?
Yeah,
I think it was.
He's doing some weird CGI. I think he's just taking stuff offline and then showing him with the Justice League. It's flying off. It's the dumbest thing in the world, but he's having fun.
He's having a goof.
Yeah, he is. I imagine some fan made it, sent it to him, and he's like, "Can I post this?" And then that's what came out. So he's having a good time with it. That's what matters. We need something funny every once in a while. But on the other side of that coin, I wanted to talk about John Wick. Chapter 4 is supposed to Memorial Day weekend 2022, but on an investor's call, they confirmed Chapter 5 will also shoot back to back with it to really hone in on Keanu Reeves' tight schedule there, keeping him here before he does another Bill and Ted movie.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's good news, just because 2022 seems like so long. I want more John Wick. I want it now. So usually now means 2021. So it's a bummer we're not going to get anything next year. But maybe if we get John Wick 4 2022 and then John Wick 5 2023, maybe they're signaling that Chapter 5 will be the last of Keanu Reeves. I would not be very surprised if the John Wick universe continues. I think there's a really strong indication that it's going to continue on HBO and her series. Yeah,
there's a TV show based on the hotel.
Yeah, but I am curious if the universe will continue in films though after Reeves. Are they going to do? Hopefully they don't do this, but the same quality. But are they gonna Jeremy Renner it like Bourne Identity and bring somebody in?
I like how they don't do the Bourne thing, because they'll have to bring him back again, and it won't be as good. Just like, what was it, James Bond set up Halle Berry for a spinoff, and then John Wick Chapter 3 set up Halle Berry for a spinoff, and they're like, nah, we're not gonna do it. I think 5. I mean, no one expected John Wick to get more than 3. I thought a trilogy would be nice, so him having 5 would be interesting.
a nice 5 set of movies. But I could see them doing something, down the road. John Wick, was it the Lawrence Fishburne's character, the Pigeon King or something, the king of the garbage people.
It seems like Keanu Reeves is a relatively intelligent person when it comes to navigating Hollywood. So I'm just going to trust that he knows what he's doing. And John Wick, he's thinking deserves 5 chapters. So I'm on board.
Yeah, if they can get him and he's willing to do it, and they're writing content for it, that's good and keeps it going. I'm down for it. Those fight scenes choreographed so superbly.
They're so good, so good.
Yeah, when I was when I had my week off there out of town, I watched most of the first one again. And my favorite thing about that is whenever they're like the guy who was in that Game of Thrones, the kid, and he's like, you killed John Wick's dog, and then he everyone's just terrified of John Wick. It was awesome, and I really think they need to bring that back. The myth of John Wick, not the movie, like the 2 movies that are set like a day apart where he's running.
Yeah, well, the myth could grow even more here because, I don't want to spoil if nobody's got around to John Wick, but it seems like there is going to be a bit of a time period between Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 where John Wick's not in play, not on the table. So if he kind of comes back in Chapter 4, it would be like, whoa, he's back. We didn't know you're back again.
Yeah, and he made some deals in that last one that are they're going to come back into play later, I guarantee you. So we'll see how that goes. I'm excited for more John Wick. Can't go wrong. Keanu Reeves, we're in the Keanu-sance, Mike. We say it all the time. We'll see how this Bill and Ted movie goes. Lastly, you want to talk a little bit about this Superworld movie coming up, directed by Jason Bateman, which is about a world full of super-powered people and like a man who does not have a superpower. And it's based on a recent novel. So I was able to bring up the description here of it's a movie that's set in 2038, focuses on Ignatius Lohman, the aforementioned man without any sort of special abilities. His father's one of the most powerful people on the planet, and he finally gets a chance to shine when the corporate overlord emerges with the ability to neutralize power. So I don't know what's going to happen in this, but Jason Bateman is... he got a bunch of awards for Ozark, or nominations for Ozark.
Is he starring in it, or is he just directing it?
He's directing.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, I'm looking at his IMDb now. It looks like he's just starting to dip his toe into feature film directing. Looks like he's done a whopping 10 episodes of Ozarks, and then he's kind of done one-off stuff. Oh, I guess it looks like he directed Bad Words. Oh, I never saw that, but that was a comedy film. And
the writer with this, who's adapting it with him, is the guy who wrote Game Night, which I think is Jason Bateman.
Yeah, Game Night's great. So Jason Bateman's definitely not a stranger to directing. So it's always kind of cool when actors make the jump to directing. It seems like they have a little extra edge that maybe a normal director wouldn't have. But I guess this just goes to show you that there's no such thing as superhero fatigue because they're still making the stuff that's random one-off that's not connected to DC or Marvel.
Yeah, I was actually going to see. I pulled this up, but it doesn't tell me where it's going to go. Is it straight to theaters? Is it a streaming service?
It does feel streaming-y, doesn't it? It feels like this is going to be like a Netflix film or something.
It's a New Line. No, Warner Brothers picked it up, so there's no.
So it'd probably be HBO Max if it's streamed.
And the story is based on Superworld. It just hit Audible as an audiobook this summer, so it's relatively new, and it has tones similar to The Incredibles. So. I don't know. I mean, sure, that's fine. Let's see how this goes. If they get back to making movies, we can see what's going on. But I mean, again, Jason Bateman, Superworld sounds like we're as we talked about the top show, Umbrella Academy, Warner World, where non-traditional Marvel or DC superhero properties are making waves and doing well. So, let's give it a chance. We'll see how it goes. Mike, that's our show for this week. A little bit longer, but I mean, I think we had some really good topics in here.
Hey, we stuffed an Umbrella Academy spoiler review into this, so enjoy it. It's like an extra meaty hamburger.
It is, and it is getting late here for me. And speaking of hamburgers, I probably need to eat some dinner. So we're gonna wrap this up, Mike. People know what you're doing, what you're up to. Where can they find you at?
Oh, all they got to do is follow me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram, Valdan87. I'm going to look this up right now. I don't know what my PlayStation name is here. I know my Xbox name is Valdan, Valdan. If you send me a request, you got to tell me who you are, because I'm not just adding random people. I believe my PlayStation name Valdan1987 as well. I'm gonna look up. It looks like it is. It's not telling me. Yeah, no, it's Vault 87 on PlayStation as well. Add me if you want to play Avengers beta over the next couple weeks. And if you've got it, let me know. I'm excited. You can also have a Comic Guy. Mike, if people want to know where they can find us, where they can leave reviews or share us with other people, where can they do all that at?
Well, much like Chris is always a click away from finding the information that he needs at any given moment, you can find us at superheroslate.com. It's the best place to find all the avenues we host our show, and to get our awesome show notes. So if you want to check out all the crazy stuff that we talked about this week, head on over to superheroslate.com. You get a nice little bulleted list, the rundown of this whole episode. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts like us. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and the Gram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. We love it when you guys reach out. I think we have a couple pending emails that were sent to us recently where some people are kind of putting together some of their own projects. I think somebody sent us like a short film that they were working on.
Oh, really?
that was superhero related, and I kind of previewed it briefly. We should talk about those things on the show next week. Let you guys know we always read the emails. We read wherever you guys like to reach out. We love it. So if you want to be super fans of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, wear your mask, wash your hands, socially distance, do all that jazz, and we love you, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, we'll see you then. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Hey, if I ever die from a serial killer, you're okay to make jokes at my funeral, because there's nothing gonna be worse than seeing somebody murdered like that. So just poke fun at me, you know. Hopefully the serial killer kills me in a funny way. It'll make things a little bit easier.
It's gonna be some serial killer called like the Hamburglar or something, like completely